A Sigma female doesn't look dangerous at first glance. She doesn't raise her voice. She doesn't posture. She doesn't threaten, and that's exactly why people underestimate her. Bullies always assume power looks loud. They assume dominance needs volume, intimidation, or humiliation. What they never prepare for is a woman who doesn't react the way they expect. A woman who doesn't flinch, doesn't chase validation, and doesn't rush to prove anything. Here's the truth most people learn too late. When you try to bully a Sigma female, you're not testing her strength. You're exposing your own limits. You're handing her information about how you operate, what scares you, and how fragile your sense of control really is. This video isn't about hype. It's about reality, about why bullying a Sigma female almost always backfires, quietly, slowly, and permanently. Sigma ladies, if you value clarity, self-mastery, and silent power, you're in the right place. Subscribe to Wisdom Ways and become part of the Sigma lady space where strategy beats noise every time. 1. The mirror maze effect. When you try to bully a Sigma female, you don't dominate the situation. You create a mirror maze where every move you make reveals more about you than about her. Most people respond to bullying by defending themselves emotionally. They explain, they justify, they overtalk. A Sigma female does none of that. She observes. She watches how you apply pressure, how you escalate, how you try to gain leverage. She doesn't interrupt the process because she understands something crucial. People show their real selves when they think they're in control. Every insult you throw, every power play you attempt, every manipulative tactic you use becomes data. She's not offended in the way you expect. She's analyzing. She's noting what triggers you, what you repeat, what you rely on when things don't go your way. Bullies thrive on chaos. They assume emotional disorder gives them the upper hand. But chaos is only powerful against people who can't read patterns. A Sigma female reads patterns effortlessly. She doesn't need to confront you immediately. She's already mapping your behavior, your limits, and your predictability. And here's where the mirror maze closes in. While you think you're intimidating her, you're actually teaching her exactly how to dismantle your influence later. You show her how you react under pressure. You show her how you handle resistance. You show her whether you're impulsive, insecure, or desperate for dominance. By the time you realize she's not shaken, it's already too late. She has a clear picture of who you are, and once a Sigma female sees you clearly, she never unsees it. That's the danger of bullying someone who doesn't need to respond immediately. You think silence means weakness. In reality, it means assessment, and assessment always comes before strategy. 2. The silent receipt folder. A Sigma female doesn't fight with words alone. She fights with memory, timing, and precision. While others confront bullying head-on, she quietly builds a record. Not out of bitterness, not out of revenge, but out of self-respect. She understands that power isn't just emotional, it's structural. She notices patterns, how often it happens, who's present, how it escalates, how you behave when no one is watching. She remembers dates, phrases, tones. She doesn't need to announce that she's keeping track. That would defeat the purpose. Bullies rely on confusion and denial. They count on people forgetting details or doubting themselves. A Sigma female doesn't doubt what she experiences. She doesn't gaslight herself to keep the peace. Her silent receipt folder isn't always literal, but it might be. Screenshots, messages, witnesses, repetition, context. She understands that truth carries more weight when it's supported by consistency. And here's the part bullies never anticipate. She doesn't rush to use that information. She waits for the moment when it matters. The moment when credibility counts. The moment when the system, the group, or the environment finally demands accountability. When that moment arrives, she doesn't explode. She presents facts, calmly, cleanly, without emotional distortion. And suddenly the bully realizes the game has changed. What once felt like unchecked power now feels like exposure. Because evidence doesn't argue, it doesn't shout, it doesn't get defensive, it simply exists. A Sigma female understands that sometimes the strongest move is patience, and patience paired with memory is lethal to anyone who depends on intimidation to survive. 3. The calm that makes you look guilty. Nothing destabilizes a bully faster than emotional control they can't penetrate. Bullying depends on reaction, raised voices, tears, anger, panic. When a Sigma female stays calm, the imbalance becomes obvious. The more aggressive the bully becomes, the more composed she remains. And that contrast does all the talking for her. In public settings, this is especially dangerous for the bully. People may not intervene immediately, but they notice. Humans are wired to read emotional cues. When one person is controlled and the other is escalating, judgment begins to shift. The bully starts to look unstable, over-invested, insecure. The Sigma female doesn't need to point it out. Her calm becomes a silent accusation. And because she doesn't engage emotionally, the bully often escalates further, trying to provoke a response. That escalation only deepens the hole. Each outburst makes the situation clearer to everyone watching. Her calm isn't passive, it's deliberate. It communicates that she's not threatened by noise, that she doesn't need to prove her worth in the moment, that she trusts herself enough to let behavior speak for itself. Eventually, the bully feels exposed without understanding why. They feel judged without being confronted. That discomfort comes from realizing they've lost control of the narrative. A Sigma female doesn't win by overpowering. She wins by letting imbalance reveal itself. And that's why trying to bully her almost always ends with the bully looking exactly like what they are. 4. The ego starvation protocol. Most bullies don't actually want power. They want confirmation. They want to feel significant, feared, or superior even for a moment. Their fuel isn't control, it's reaction. A Sigma female understands this instinctively. That's why she doesn't feed it. When you try to bully her, she doesn't give you the emotional payoff you're looking for. No tears, no pleading, no over-explaining, no public breakdown that makes you feel influential. She responds minimally, if at all. Short answers, neutral tone, sometimes silence. This isn't weakness, it's discipline. Bullies depend on emotional engagement to justify their behavior. When they don't get it, they feel disoriented. They push harder, hoping to crack something. But the harder they push, the clearer it becomes that they're fighting alone. A Sigma female starves the ego by refusing to perform. She doesn't try to prove she's hurt. She doesn't try to prove she's strong. She simply removes the emotional reward system the bully relies on. And here's the uncomfortable truth for the bully. When no one reacts, their behavior starts to feel embarrassing, pointless, excessive. They begin to look like someone talking too loudly in a quiet room. This is when bullies often change tactics. They accuse her of being cold, arrogant, or heartless. What they're really saying is, "You won't give me what I want." She hears that clearly, and she still doesn't comply. Because a Sigma female knows that attention is currency, and she doesn't hand out money to people who disrespect her. 5. The boundary alarm system. Some people ignore red flags because they don't want conflict. A Sigma female doesn't have that problem. Her internal alarm system is sharp and immediate. She doesn't need repeated disrespect to recognize a pattern. The first inappropriate comment, the first power move disguised as a joke, the first attempt to diminish her presence. She notices, and unlike others, she doesn't rationalize it away. She doesn't tell herself it's nothing. She doesn't wait for confirmation from the group. She trusts her perception. This is why bullies struggle with her. They expect tolerance. They expect second chances. They expect access to continue by default. She doesn't operate that way. Once her boundary alarm goes off, she adjusts her behavior. She limits interaction. She tightens access. She becomes more selective with information, time, and emotional availability. She may not confront immediately. "Don't speak to me that way. This conversation is over." Delivered calmly, those words land harder than shouting ever could. They leave no room for debate, only compliance or exposure. Bullies hate this because they can't escalate without looking unreasonable. The Sigma female has already set the tone. Any pushback reveals desperation. This is the polite detonation. Clean, controlled, irreversible. She doesn't need to win the argument. She ends it. 10. The consequence architect. Most bullies are comfortable with empty threats. They've learned that many people talk about boundaries but rarely enforce them. A Sigma female is different because she doesn't warn. She designs outcomes. She doesn't say, "If you keep doing this, I'll leave." She leaves. She doesn't say, "I won't tolerate this." She removes access. She doesn't argue about respect. She rearranges her life so disrespect no longer reaches her. This is what makes her dangerous to someone who relies on intimidation. There's no dramatic build-up, no countdown, no emotional negotiation, just action. A Sigma female understands that consequences lose power when they're announced too early, so she keeps her plans private. She thinks ahead. She adjusts her environment quietly. That might look like changing routines, cutting off communication, escalating an issue through proper channels instead of personal confrontation, strengthening alliances without gossip, documenting behavior while staying outwardly neutral. The bully often doesn't realize what's happening until the effects are already in motion. Opportunities disappear, access closes, influence fades. And when the bully finally reacts, it's too late. The system has already shifted. This is why arguing with a Sigma female feels pointless. You're not debating opinions. You're dealing with someone who has already decided how her life will function. She doesn't seek justice through chaos. She builds it through structure. 11. The emotional firewall. You cannot bully someone who refuses to internalize your opinion. That's where most attempts fail with a Sigma female. She doesn't absorb insults as truth. She doesn't take disrespect personally. She understands that what people project often says more about them than about her. This emotional firewall wasn't built overnight. It comes from self-awareness, solitude, and an identity that isn't dependent on external approval. When a bully attacks her character, appearance, or choices, she doesn't scramble to defend them. She evaluates the source. Is this person credible? Are they stable? Are they acting from insecurity or control? If the answer is no, the comment doesn't enter her system. This frustrates bullies deeply. They expect words to land. They expect damage. Instead, they hit a wall. The Sigma female's calm response isn't denial, it's discernment. She chooses what deserves emotional energy and what doesn't. And once something is deemed irrelevant, it loses all power. That's why repeated bullying attempts often escalate. The bully is trying harder to penetrate a firewall that isn't designed to open, and the harder they push, the more obvious their weakness becomes. 12. The last word you'll never hear. Bullies crave closure on their terms. They want the final scene, the dramatic ending where they feel dominant. A Sigma female denies them that satisfaction. She doesn't deliver long speeches explaining her departure. She doesn't seek mutual understanding with someone who repeatedly disrespected her. She doesn't revisit old conversations to soothe someone else's ego. When she's done, she's done. No final argument, no emotional wrap-up, no explanation tour. This silence isn't confusion, it's completion. The bully is left with unanswered questions, unresolved tension, and the uncomfortable realization that they no longer matter in her world. That absence becomes the last word. And unlike insults or confrontations, silence has permanence. It doesn't fade. It doesn't get reinterpreted. It just exists. For someone who thrived on control, that's the hardest ending to accept. Because the Sigma female didn't lose. She didn't win loudly either. She simply moved on. So here's the truth most people never say out loud. Trying to bully a Sigma female is never a power move. It's a confession. It's a confession that you need reaction to feel real. That you rely on pressure because you don't have influence. That you mistake noise for authority and fear for respect. A Sigma female doesn't meet force with force. She meets it with clarity. She doesn't collapse. She doesn't chase closure. She doesn't need to dominate the room to know who she is. Every attempt to bully her becomes a lesson. Not for her, but for the person who underestimated her restraint, her memory, and her willingness to walk away without regret. She doesn't announce her strength. She lets time reveal it. She doesn't threaten consequences. She installs them. She doesn't argue for dignity. But the shift is unmistakable. The warmth cools, the openness closes, the dynamic changes. Bullies hate this phase because it removes their leverage. They can feel the distance, but they don't know how to close it. Any attempt to push past the boundary only confirms what she already knows. She doesn't need to explain her standards. She enforces them quietly. And because she acts early, she avoids the prolonged damage that comes from tolerating disrespect. Bullies call this cold. In reality, it's efficient. 6. The social gravity flip bullies often believe power comes from controlling perception, from being louder, more dominant, more visible. A Sigma female understands something more subtle. Respect follows behavior, not volume. She doesn't rush to defend herself publicly. She doesn't campaign for sympathy. She doesn't trash talk behind the scenes. She simply remains consistent, calm, polite, unavailable to nonsense. Over time, people notice the contrast. They notice who stays composed and who keeps escalating, who maintains dignity and who needs an audience. This is where social gravity shifts. Without effort, without announcement, the room begins to lean toward her. Conversations change when she's present. People listen differently. They trust her judgment because she doesn't overuse her voice. Meanwhile, the bully starts to feel heavier. Their presence feels disruptive rather than authoritative. What once passed as confidence starts to look like insecurity. A Sigma female doesn't take sides. She lets patterns reveal themselves. And when people are forced to choose who they respect, they choose the one who didn't need to dominate to feel important. That's the flip bullies never see coming. They think power is something you grab. She knows it's something that gathers around you when you don't chase it. 7. The exit that feels like a punishment. Bullies expect resistance. They expect arguments, retaliation, or emotional collapse. What they are never prepared for is absence. A Sigma female understands the power of exit better than most. She knows that staying in a toxic dynamic out of pride or habit only benefits the person causing harm. So when the line is crossed and the pattern is clear, she leaves. Not dramatically, not loudly, not with a final speech meant to wound. She simply withdraws access. No more conversations that go nowhere. No more emotional labor. No more availability. She doesn't announce it as a punishment, but it feels like one to the bully because it removes what they valued most: proximity. The bully is left confused. They replay interactions, wondering when they lost control of the situation. They might try to reinsert themselves using charm, guilt, or sudden apologies. But the door doesn't open. Because a Sigma female doesn't leave impulsively, she leaves decisively. Her absence forces reflection without her participation. And for someone who relied on dominating her presence, that silence becomes louder than any argument. This is the moment bullies realize that control was never guaranteed. It was borrowed, and she just took it back. Before we continue, Sigma ladies, a quick pause. If this content helps you think clearer, move smarter, and protect your peace, you can support the channel through Buy Me a Coffee. The link is in the description and pinned as the first comment. Your support keeps the Sigma Lady independent and consistent. 8. The reputation boomerang bullies assume their version of events will dominate the narrative. They believe they can act however they want as long as they control the story afterward. A Sigma female doesn't fight narratives directly. She outlives them. She continues showing up as herself, steady, respectful, composed. She doesn't overcorrect. She doesn't defend herself excessively. She doesn't explain her side to everyone who asks. Instead, she lets time do the work. People begin to notice inconsistencies. The bully's stories shift. Their tone sharpens. Their complaints multiply. Meanwhile, the Sigma female remains unchanged. That contrast creates cognitive dissonance in observers. Slowly, the story starts to unravel on its own. The boomerang effect is simple but powerful. Behavior always circles back. What you put out eventually meets a context where it can't be hidden anymore. By the time the bully realizes their reputation is cracking, the Sigma female is already established as credible, calm, reliable, trustworthy. She didn't attack, she didn't smear, she didn't defend, she waited. And patience is devastating to people who rely on manipulation to survive. 9. The polite detonation. There's a myth that strength must be aggressive. A Sigma female proves otherwise. When she does speak up, her words are measured and precise. No insults, no emotional overflow, no unnecessary explanations. She names behavior, not character. A single sentence from her can dismantle a bully's posture because it removes ambiguity. That's not acceptable. She lives in a way that makes disrespect unsustainable. Sigma ladies, if this video resonated, remember this. Peace isn't passive. Silence isn't weakness. And walking away is often the most decisive move you can make. Stay sharp. Stay selective. Stay unreachable to people who confuse intimidation with value. This is where we part ways for now. Until next time, protect your inner world like it's sacred ground and let the noise fade behind you. Goodbye. And if you want to support the Sigma Lady and help keep this channel independent, you can do so through Buy Me a Coffee. The link is in the description and pinned as the first comment. Your support helps us continue creating content for Sigma ladies who choose strength, clarity, and self-respect.